It's been such a relaxing and peaceful morning out here on our back patio, enjoying the flowers and nature, that I wanted to share it with you by giving you a mini tour of our garden, as well as answering a few Q&As from previous videos. If you've never been here before, my name is Marlene. Welcome to our home and garden channel. Now let's get started with our mini tour. So these right here, these are our pansies and violas, and they were on our front porch, but it's getting a little too warm in the afternoons for them. So we brought them back here because it's a lot cooler on the back patio. And right next to them would be my massive rosemary bush that I've had for over 5 years. It was blooming the other day, as you saw in my previous video, and now it's gone to seed. But right next to it, the lavenders came right up behind, and they are blooming right now. And I've had this for 2 years. A dear friend gave it to me when my father had passed, and so I have to make sure that I take care of it and that it survives and does really well, and it is. These over here, these are some beautiful dianthus, and I just love that color. I had planted them in the flower bed right there, but because they like sun and it's only part sun to shade back here, they're reaching forward, as you can see, and I let them do it. And these are some beautiful volunteer ferns. The ones over here, these are called lady ferns, and this one next to this is a Boston fern, and we never planted any of those. They came up by themselves and we just left them, and they're deciduous, so they go down every winter and come back up in the spring. And right next to the dianthus would be our chrysanthemums. They dried all the way down and they came back up, so they do come back for you guys. They just need to be in a large enough container. And over here, these are some beautiful pansies, more of like a deep red coloration, maybe like a cranberry color. And these, I planted them late January. You can see they still did really well. It's getting a little warm back here. This is how they were about 2 weeks ago, and it's gotten warmer. So not as many of them hold up too well in the afternoon sun, but I just take off the faded ones, and the more I, deadhead them like this, is the more blooms that I get maybe in another 2 days or so. And this has really been an excellent year for pansies. Just look at these ones that are in my front garden, guys. So beautiful. The other plants are just waking up, but these are holding down the fort, and they've been since the fall season. And over here, these are my blueberries that I planted, what was it, last winter, late winter. And one of them is blooming, the one at the back. The one at the front had some pest pressure, but we'll wait to see what happens. But I'm so excited about that. Down here now we have some impatiens that I also planted for my porch makeover, along with these fern right here. And the begonias are in front. And I just cannot wait to see how they're going to fluff out and just come into themselves. And I'll link the video at the end so you can take a look at our porch makeover for spring. And hope you'll enjoy it as much as we enjoyed putting it together. And let's take a look over yonder. That right there is a bluebird enjoying the water in the bird bath. And he camouflages so well with the iris flowers. I think it's a perfect camouflage for him. It's almost like an exact match. And the iris, they never disappoint. And over here, there's another bird up there. And most times when the camera is up, they tend to not stick around. But he did, he was quite comfortable with me holding the camera up. So that was nice to see. And once we have the bird feeder, we can expect to have other little critters coming around. This is actually a chipmunk, and we were having a stare down right here. So I said, let me move it a little bit further with the camera to see what he's going to do. And that's what got him to move. He just sat there looking at me the whole time. And there's another bird, the one that's behind where I can't see him. He's holding on a little bit longer because he feels more secure back there, which is fine. When I'm out, when I'm not there holding up the phone, they stay as long as they want. So guys, that's a little tour. And I'm going to go ahead and take a look at your questions. So the first question was, how do you know your growing zone? So as far as growing zones go, there are 13 growing zones, 1 to 13. 13 being the warmest and 1 being the coldest. And they basically take a look at your winter weather to see what the lowest temperatures are, and that's how they decide what zone you're in. And typically the difference between them is 10 degrees Fahrenheit for each one, or 5.56 degrees Celsius. And of course, it's important to know which zone you're in because, tropical plants will not survive in a situation like that. These daffodils, on the other hand, they love the colder weather, for a period of time. It's called cold vernalization is what they need to go through, because if they don't have that, then they will not produce any blooms. And this is why it would not grow in a tropical area, because they need to have that. On the other hand, these beautiful bougainvillea right here, if I tried to plant these in my growing zone 8, they would not make it because they would not be able to handle the hard freezes that we do get sometimes. If you have maybe like a light frost in your zone, they can handle it, but not where I am. So how do you find your growing zone? You can search by way of your city and state if you're in the US, or you can use your city and country, and you can also use a zip code as well too, and you'll be able to find out which one you are in. And so this beautiful coneflower right here has, like a wide range. So sometimes it's good when those plants are versatile. But remember, when you see things online, just take a look to see what zone the person is in before you choose it for your garden. The next one is, what is the easiest plant for a beginner to grow? I'll give you something from the veggie side and something from the flower side. So hands down for me, the easiest veggie to grow in my garden would be beans. From they start coming out like this, and that's usually in about 3 weeks or so, 3 to 4 weeks, and by 6 weeks, that's how they're looking, and it is time for the harvest. And boy, do we love when it's harvest time. You can see how happy I was right there. First harvest of this season in 6 weeks. So you can plant them by seed, of course, and they don't like being transplanted. It's better to direct sow your beans. And they love warmer weather. Another one too would be tomatoes. I wouldn't put them at the top of the list as far as saying the easiest one, but we use them so often, and just with a few tweaks here and there, guys, you really can grow your own tomatoes. And I'm going to do a future video talking about some things to bear in mind before you plant them out. You can see how large these ones were. I love slicing tomatoes, but I'll have, any kind pretty much. But my favorite is always the ones you can slice. Chives and green onions are pretty easy to grow too as far as herbs go. And there are others like peppermint and so on. As far as flowers go, cosmos, I would say, is one of the easiest ones to grow. And boy, are they gorgeous. They are annual, so they don't come back. But they self-seed, so, they'll be the gift that keeps on giving. And this is what the seeds look like when you plant them out. And they come up pretty fast. Zinnias are also another one that's easy to grow, whether you're growing them from starts, at your garden center, or you want to get them, plant them as seeds. Just try to plant them as right after your first frost date, so they have enough time to come up and give you lots of blooms. And of course, we cannot leave marigolds out. They're absolutely so important in the garden. Coneflower, if you're looking for a perennial, is a very good one. They come back year after year. But by the time you get to the third year, as they say, first year they sleep, second year they creep, third year they leap. So you'll be good in year through many blooms. Next one is, what are my favorite flowers? You probably already know the answer to that. Almost all of them. But let's take a look. I'm perfectly fine with cut flowers, especially if they're a gift that's given to me, or, like orchids and so on. I'm good with indoor plants. I'm perfectly fine with them. As far as in my garden goes, in no particular order, I would say iris. And some of my most watched videos are actually about iris flowers. And you can understand why, because they're just so gorgeous. The blooming period is short, but boy, are they worth the show that they give every spring for about 3 weeks or so. Daffodils are also another good one. They're one of the first ones to bloom in usually I'd say late winter is when they come out, and they're so gorgeous. And these ones have a very nice smell. So if you have daffodils, check them and see if they smell really nice, because not every variety is going to do that, and there are many of them. And of course, pansies, I can never leave them out because they are just as tough as nails. And all the other plants are asleep. They're out there in the winter doing their thing, and the snow fell on them this time, and they came back in just a few days. And of course, cosmos, absolutely beautiful, very easy to to grow, and I can't say enough about them. They can be used as cut flowers or just enjoyed in your garden. They do self-seed, like I said before. Coneflowers, they're so tough, they're so resilient, and they have a very, very long bloom time. And, again, they're perennials, so, they get just more and more bountiful with each passing year. So, absolutely, I would have to put them in there. And I'll do a future video on my top 10. Next question, what is the difference between potting soil and garden soil? And that's a very, very important one. So let's take a look at them together. We have the garden soil in the green bag right there. And in the yellow one, we have the potting soil. And that one says feed lasts for 6 months. So let's take a closer look at them to see how they're looking. You can see how the garden soil is looking right there next to the potting soil. So as far as what's inside the garden soil, you have soil, manure or compost, and tree bark. And I think in recent years I've been getting too much tree bark in these garden soils, in my opinion, which is taking away from the soil, is what I'm thinking. And over here, the potting soil, very light and fluffy. And this is what you will need to have in your containers. The garden soil is going to be too heavy, so it would not be wise to put that in your containers. If it's not fed, I would say you can either put slow release fertilizer like the one on the left. They're granular, they don't dissolve easily in water. And the ones on the right, they're water soluble, and you can feed them maybe like every 3 weeks or so in the growing season. And I just wanted to take a pause to invite you to subscribe to our channel if you have never done so before. My husband and I, we do lots of gardening topics. We do garden DIYs. We show you what's in the stores. And just so you can have a wonderful garden experience as you journey along with us. If you haven't heard from us in a while, by notification, be sure to hit the bell twice and just take a check because we do weekly videos. You can also support us by getting merchandise through the product tag that you'll see on there. And these images came from our garden. Next question, have you ever had a plant die on you? Let's see. So this plant right here, and this is the one that stays in my mind so much. This was a petunia, guys, and it was beautiful. It was flowing over the sides. And I thought, wow, it's so beautiful, but it must have had maybe some kind of a blight or something because I fed it, I watered it, and nothing I did could save this plant. And that just happened sometimes. So I took it out and put something else in there. Same summer, same garden, and I just said, well, we just have to move on. And so I still enjoyed it. This one was a little bit close to the house, and I thought it had died, but it had not. There were some little leaves in there. But just to say, guys, don't give up. Keep going. If something doesn't work, you can always go and get something else, because you will have success eventually, and that's how we learn. Next one, how do you get birds to come to your garden? So as they say, if you feed them, they will come. I would say the easiest way to get them in your garden would be to have clean water source, like a bird bath, and they're pretty inexpensive. Just keep it clean like every 2 days or so. You can change out the water, and be sure to put your bird seeds in so they can get them. What I'll say though is that once you have bird seeds, you'll also get little animals like these. So just be careful of that. Next one is, what proactive measures can you do to prevent pests and diseases from your garden? An excellent question. So I would say marigolds are an excellent plant to get by way of companion planting. Companion planting is a good way to help to keep pests off. They have a very strong smell and they hate it, so they don't come, the bad bugs. The good ones come too. And the similar situation with cosmos, they don't have that strong smell, but they keep them away, just as do these zinnias right here. So companion planting is very, very important. Plants in the onion family like chives and green onions and garlic, they help with that. I also say try to pinch back your plants so that way their leaves are not touching the ground, because pests and disease will come up. Also to put mulch there for the same reason, it's going to keep them off. But be sure to leave a little space around the stems, and that's going to prevent them from having easy access to your plant. You can see how I did it right there. And also be sure to keep your plants healthy and check for, pests to get them off of there. If your plant is not healthy, it releases certain hormones. The insects pick up on them and they they just come and take over the plant. So it's best to keep them strong and healthy. When they're that way, then they're stronger and they don't give off, those hormones that attract them. So just keep your plants healthy. Last question, and a very important one. What are the most common mistakes that beginner and seasoned gardeners make from time to time? Location, location, location. So if a plant needs shade like these hostas do right here, you would not want to put them in an area that has full sun, because that is going to, have them not do well or possibly die. They just can't take the heat. So, and the tags are normally on there when you pick them up at your garden center. Plants that like full sun, like your coneflowers, your veggies, and so on, if you put them in areas that have full shade, then they're not going to do it. And by the way, full shade would be less than 4 hours of direct sun per day. Partial would be 4 to 6, like these ones right here, these heuchera. And again, you see the sign is telling you right there that it's part shade. So these are a little bit more flexible because they're part shade. That's 4 to 6 hours. If they get a little bit less than 4, they'll be okay. If they get a little bit more than 6, they'll be okay as well too. So this one's a little bit more versatile, but always check to see, your hours of sunlight. Just check in your, your yard on a regular, sunny day, and see how many hours you get in what particular area. And sometimes it's tempting to just pick up plants and bring them home because they're pretty, but you have to make sure that they're put in the right place so you can have success with them, because they really will get stressed if they're not in the proper location. And then, we get disappointed, they die or they don't look good, and then we feel like we wasted our money and our time. So that's definitely something to bear in mind right there. Next one is watering. Sometimes plants are overwatered. They get watered when the soil is already wet, and that can cause root rot because the roots cannot breathe. So we have to go in and make sure they dry out a little bit, at least maybe like the top inch or so, and then we can water them again. And the opposite is true, is that not watering them enough where, they're there and the soil is really dry. And then, this doesn't happen often enough that we water them, and then they'll also die of thirst, just like any living thing. So there needs to be a balance, and then we'll be okay. So guys, I hope that this was helpful to you. I want to say thank you so much to my channel members, those who share my videos with others that love gardening. It really helps this channel to grow. And if it's your first time here, I hope you'll consider subscribing and just joining along with us. We appreciate you all so much for stopping by today. Thank you all so much for watching, and we wish you a happy garden season. I hope you enjoyed this little mini tour with us, this peaceful morning that, we enjoyed out here. And I do hope to see you in the next one. Take care.